That's my biggest thing with growing anything inside the house is the mold.
Yeah.
To me, that's a bigger concern.
Yeah. So it's not just about the marijuana itself. It's about the repercussions of that, the conditions that you need to keep constant in the home that could affect the rest of the property. And then you're talking about sheetrock removal, treating the boards. I mean, we've seen some homes where, gosh, you just have to kind of basically gut it.
Keep going until it's not there anymore.
And then treat the boards themselves with an antimicrobial solution, sometimes even kills.
Well, mold remediation is, everybody thinks it's just kills, but it's not, because you're just encapsulating.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even killing the mold. It's
kind of like asbestos. You're just
covering it and allowing it to eat into whatever it's on. But if you have good airflow, that's probably the best way to keep mold down.
Yeah.
So, crawl spaces, it's always good to have a fan in there. I don't know where I was going with this, but you were saying cleaning. I've seen houses where they've stripped it down to the studs, taken everything out where there was mold, and still can't get a good clean bill of health on that house.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that can be a problem because in fact, I just met with a seller yesterday that had the same issue. They cleaned all the vents, the ductwork and everything, and still had a high reading, which was pretty incredible. But back to the clandestine component, if you're growing marijuana in your property for personal use or for commercial use, what kind of issues will you face when you sell the property? And do you need to disclose that you actually had a grow house there?
So I think it would be different for commercial versus residential use, because even here, you're allowed to own a certain amount of plants. If you have 4 plants in the house, I don't think you're going to run into the same issues. Take those out before if you want to disclose it. I consider it, since it is legal now, to me, it's more like having a tropical plant. As long as it hasn't made any other issues, I don't know. I don't even know if you would really need to disclose if you were growing legally in your home.
For personal use.
It's what, 12,
use.
12 plants?
I don't know how many exactly it is, but if you were following everything, you were permitted all the right, to me, that's just like having a plant that, some people might be sensitive to it, but that's also just some people are sensitive to cats.
Cats, yeah.
But as far as commercial use, you're not going to be able to get a loan on that property from a typical bank. Insurance is going to be tricky. You're going to have certain regulations when it comes to water. If you're doing any sort of fertilizer, that's especially liquid fertilizer, you're going to have to disclose that because it can get into the soil. There's a lot more for commercial than I think for personal.
And title insurance issues.
Yep.
The title company won't grant insurance in most instances on properties like that. There's a lot to think about there. And I guess, I would tend to agree with you in the sense of if you had 5 plants, and they were more like house plants, and you didn't have like a full hydroponic system set up in an enclosed space, would you really need to disclose that, you had marijuana growing for personal use? That's a gray area.
Because it's not illicit, really. Because if it's legal and you're doing it properly, if someone is coming in that's allergic to marijuana, and we live in a place that it's illegal, they should be asking. They should say, I'm allergic to this. Have you had any plants? Do you smoke in the house? Is there? And a seller should be forthright in saying it because it is legal. Yeah.
And you always want to err on, like if it's something, I always tell my clients, like if this is something you would want to know as a buyer, then disclose it. Like that's kind of the acid test. Like if it's something you feel like you would want to know, or if you're questioning whether you should disclose or not, then you should tend to disclose it because anytime you get to that tipping point, you should try to tip on the right side.
And we're not the police. Just tell us.
Yeah.
You're not going to get arrested for telling us. Even meth is huge here. You have to disclose if there's been any meth used in the house or especially made in the house. Especially made. To me, that is completely different. Even we disclose lead-based paint. As long as you're not licking the walls, that's not something I'm personally concerned about. I would not buy a meth house personally because it can stay in the house for like 15 years. You can test positive for meth just by
being
living in
the
it.
home.
Exactly.
Yeah,
to me,
it's
that's
throughout the plumbing. It's
Yeah. Talk a little bit more about that, Paul. I mean, what's your knowledge in regard to a meth house and how it can? I mean, you got to strip it down. You were saying even the plumbing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're mixing those chemicals and then you're putting it down the the regular sink, if it's in a septic. I mean, especially bathtub, all of those things. I mean, it's very hard to wash those away with just regular water. So all those chemicals. I mean, imagine moving into a meth house where they've used the tub to do that stuff and then putting your kids in there.
Yeah.
You should know if you're going to be dealing with water that could be contaminated with those chemicals.
Yeah. Great point. And if you're buying a foreclosure, maybe you should do some digging on that.
Get a test.
Yeah, get a test or do some digging on the history of that home.
Well, and I would think anything that you don't have good disclosures from the sellers, so an auction house, a foreclosure, something like that, or anything that's suspected to be a meth house, I would get air quality samples, mold samples. Those are, even if they come back clean, it's better to have peace of mind than to have, medical issues down the road.
And you're probably getting a cheaper house.
Yeah.
So spend the money and do some more
yeah.
investigation for sure.
Yeah, because if they do find positive there and you still want to move forward, you have a huge negotiating tool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have some leverage there to say, look, now you know, seller, what I know. You're going to have to disclose that, whether you're dealing with a bank or whatever. You need to disclose that we have a positive reading on, methamphetamines in the home.
There's not a lot that I get pretty squeamish about in real estate. I don't mind asbestos. I don't mind lead-based paint. But radon, mold, and meth are like big things that would make me not buy the house, but I would be putting in different things. I would want the mold treated. I just know like radon, you can get a mitigation system, and none of these things are exceptionally expensive or upfront if you know. Mm-hmm. But if you discover that there's mold in all the walls and on the studs, and then it becomes a lot bigger issue.
Well, for the low price of the testing, I think it makes sense to know up front.
Yeah.
Especially radon is, and we're seeing it so much more than we used to. I think because we're doing more testing. Durango it's everywhere in Durango. Mm-hmm. Aztec, it's popping up all over the place. Farmington is hit or miss. But
in our neighborhood, there's been a lot of radon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've gotten tested, especially with having a basement, you probably should.
Yeah, we were thinking about doing the test. In fact, I was talking to Paul about that.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah. Just to see what's happening and if there's any issues and what we need to do. So yeah, it's a silent killer. I mean,
yeah, it's the second leading cause of lung cancer after smoking.
That's incredible. And we plan to be there for quite a few years. So,
really the systems are only a few $1,000s to get put in. Mm-hmm. As far as radon, it's a very easy, affordable, relatively fix. Yeah. Other things can be much more expensive.
Well, if you come over, you're going to have to look past my meth lab.
Don't open that bathroom door.
I'm checking for radon. You got meth lab. That's fine. Just checking for radon.
You were going to say something, though.
I forget now.
No, gosh.
Oh, but for mold can be a lot more expensive to mitigate. But I think that if you have mold, that is, causes a lot of health problems too. So if you think that there's mold, get a test. It's cheap.
Yeah.
And then you could talk about the mitigation problem. If you're buying a house that has mold, just like you said, definitely that should be in the negotiations.
Yeah.
Especially where we live, since mold isn't super common, you're going to see it like under a bathroom sink. It's not super common here to be in everything unless there was a leak that wasn't, taken care of, water dripping somewhere, a broken pipe in the wall. It's pretty uncommon
natural
here.
Spring. We've had a couple natural springs and crawl spaces.
Yep. Yeah, crawl spaces. If there's water. Yeah. Exactly. But for here, we're not super humid.
Yeah.
You can normally take care of it.
So we see it mostly on houses that have irrigation, overwatering. If I see a house with a crawl space and the grass goes right up to the house, to the foundation wall, there's a good chance there's going to be mold.
Yeah.
And we find it all along the rim joist, right around those vents.
The seal plate and all that jazz.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where to find it.